you're returning to Avengers for the second time, and you've spoken quite eloquently about the fact that it was a tough shoot. Um, can you talk about that a bit more? I mean, was it just the fact that there were so many sets and so many locations, or was it just...
The shoot itself was not so tough, apart from the fact that my knee went out and I had to have surgery, and so I was hobbling around for a good portion of it, most of it, in fact. But going to all these different locations makes the shoot a lot more fun, a lot more exciting. It gives it a new energy, I actually never had more fun on a shoot than I did on this one. But then when you come back and you see the 40 miles of footage you've shot, and suddenly if you're not questioning everything you do, the studio is, and it definitely, that's where it got really, really grinding, is when when we were in post, putting it all together and trying to make sure that it all played and that the rhythms all worked and that everybody was part of the same movie.
Cool. A colleague of mine interviewed you during the set visit, and you mentioned that you were, had a range of influences. Like you wanted to be something like a sci-fi horror, but then there was also something like Ibsen as well. I'm just wondering, I mean, were there any specific films that you watched on the lead up to it, like in pre-production, that you kind of used maybe as a kind of touchstone?
There wasn't anything in particular that I said, there it is, there's my film. The film is really trying to be so many things. I do think one film sort of spoke to me both times, for both movies, more than any other, and that's Black Hawk Down.
Really?
Yeah.
Why Black Hawk Down?
Because Black Hawk Down, besides being gorgeous to look at, is really just about the toll that it takes. It's not about whether it's, whether they're doing right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's about, what it's like to have each other's backs when it doesn't look like you're ever going to get out of there, and sort of it had that very sort of location specific. You felt you were in this culture, and you understood, this feeling of being trapped and this feeling of being, behind the eight ball, and for me that was what I always wanted to evoke. From the first one, I said I want to make a war movie. Because you've got all these superheroes. They're so powerful. If you don't put them through the ringer, then you're doing a disservice, and it's just going to be one of those clean movies where I've got this power. Well, I've got this power now too. Let us punch. I have won. And with the second one, I wanted to go even further in that direction because I wanted to break them down emotionally, and then also, put them through something that looked more like a war than a superhero fight.
James Spader, I mean, he's fantastic as Ultron. I mean, I think you pretty much wrote for him, didn't you? I mean, you kind of wrote it to his kind of cadence and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, I had started writing Ultron just sort of outside of the script, just to sort of start the voice rolling in my head, and then during that process was like, oh Christ, I know exactly who this is. and Marvel was like, yes. and then once I had James, because a lot of that stuff ended up being rewritten, because Ultron, is a very complex character. But James always gives everything such veracity and such wit. He did an extraordinary job, and then ILM turned him into an 8-foot robot, and yet kept every nuance of expression. They did a beautiful job.
They did, didn't they? I mean, was the fact that he worked on the motion capture part of it as well? I mean, was that something that he wanted to do, or was that something that you pushed him towards? Or
no, he insisted if he was going to do this, he didn't want a job doing voiceover work. He wanted to play Ultron, and the technology being the way it is, he had the motion capture suit, the performance capture helmet. He played Ultron, and all of those expressions, and even just in the resting moments of listening, that's James. It's all James, and that's why I'm so impressed with ILM, because it's very difficult to make metal look like it can move like that.
Yeah. Actually, just speaking on ILM, have you got a chance to look at the Force Awakens trailer?
Yes, I have.
What do you think?
You don't think, you feel.
You do, don't you?
I felt the same way as everyone else.
Would you ever consider working on a Star Wars movie?
Oh, of course I'd consider it. Good Lord. But I have just spent, 5 years inside a giant franchise factory with a lot enormous freedom and enormous restrictions and characters I haven't created. So I think I do need to find out what's in here first.
Cool. Joss, thanks, Mel.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Whatever, man, it's a trick.
Well, please be my guest.
Come on. Really?
Yeah.
Clint, you've had a tough week. We won't hold it against you if you can't get it up.
You know I've seen this before, right? And I still don't know how you do it.
Smell the silent judgment.
Please, start by all means.
Never one to shrink from an honest challenge.
Get after it.
Here we go. It's physics.
Physics.
All right, so if I lift it, I then rule Asgard?
Yes, of course.
I will be reinstituting prima nocta. Be right back.
Are you even pulling?
Are you on my team?
Just represent, pull.
All right, let's go.
Go, Steve, no pressure.
Come on, Cap.
Nothing.